NDP motion on Palestinian statehood passes after major amendments. This is the Great White North Report. So on Monday, the NDP got a big idea. They wanted to put the House of Commons in a bind, especially the Liberal government, to recognize Palestinian statehood. It risks splitting the Liberals, which is something they want. The NDP would love to split the Liberals, and it's angered the Jewish community. Obviously, the NDP are looking to gain the Muslim vote in the next election because it will get them more seats. And the Liberals will lose those seats. And if the Conservatives don't win, if there is another minority government, the Liberals and NDP will have to share power again. And this time the NDP will have more of a say. That is at what's riskier. So the NDP, by doing this, they are supporting a terrorist organization. They are giving Hamas a huge win and doing them a great favor to put international pressure on Israel. So this was sponsored by NDP leader Jughead Singh, with the party's foreign affairs critic Heather McPherson acting as the point person. This was supposed to be a motion in line with international law and aligns with Canadian policy, so we're hopeful that we'll have support from the Liberals, and we're certainly seeing more movement from them over the last few days. Obviously, any Liberal that has a Muslim population, a large Muslim population in their riding, they're going to vote for this. They're talking about human rights, like Hamas cares about human rights. Islam is not a big human rights thing, as far as that goes. MP for the Toronto riding of East York, Erskine-Smith. He has another lot of Muslims in his riding. They want the violence to end. We want civilians to be protected. We don't want to see more casualties. All these Palestinian protest movements you see, we don't see them in my area. There's not one. I live in a city of 50,000 people. We have not seen one protest for the pro-Palestinians at all. None. But of course, Toronto, in big cities, yes, you're going to see it. So you got another Liberal MP, Housefather for Mount Royal, so he's Jewish. He says he calls it an anti-Israeli motion and a slap in the face. It essentially rewards Hamas for attacking Israel. That's basically what it's doing. It's sending the wrong message. And I'll tell you, right now, the idea of statehood for Palestine, that ship sailed 20 years ago, after the Camp David Accords. Yasser Arafat came to Camp David. He was given everything he could have asked for. 95% of the West Bank, with some minor land swaps, and all the Gaza Strip. He was given the deal, he put the deal in his pocket, went home, and launched the second intifada against Israel. Why did he do this? Because he knew the minute he got home, he'd be killed if he accepted peace. The militant portion of the PLO does not want peace with Israel. Peace with Israel will come when Israel has been completely overrun, and the Jewish people are either killed, kicked out, or subjugated. That will be the real genocide. That will be the real genocide when that happens. Yet here we are, we got the NDP trying to play foreign policy, which they never have been able to do, ever in their existence. And unfortunately, we have to deal with it. Thanks to Trudeau and Jughead with their supply agreement. So what they do later that day, the NDP motion on Palestinian state passed after a major amendment. So they made 14 amendments to this thing. Took a while, took 2-hour delay, and they softened it. Now, it's a non-binding motion, meaning the government doesn't have to do it, but it's to work towards the establishment of the state of Palestine as a negotiated two-state solution. How? Because of the PLO's non-agreement in many things, Israel has just decided, hey, we're going to settle in the West Bank. Why not? The land's empty. Now you have to uproot people who've probably settled on the land for 15 years and move them out. You're going to do the same thing that the Palestinians claim that the Israelis did to them. Or do you make a new West Bank Palestinian state that also includes the Jewish community that's already there? Because in Israel itself, Arab Muslims have full legal rights. Will Jewish people in a new Palestinian state have full legal rights? Seen how that works in other Muslim countries. For me, this was nothing but political pandering by the NDP to gain more Muslim votes in the next election. So the Liberals moved to amend the opposition motion by replacing clauses entailing recognition and alluding to genocide. So the points that the NDP emphasized. So they're calling it a genocide. No, the NDP are so stupid it ain't funny. If Hamas surrendered today, the war would be over. If Israel was to surrender today, then the genocide would begin. Hamas and Hezbollah would come in and slaughter the Israelis, and then they'd kick them out, or they'd subjugate them. That would be the real genocide. it would happen again. So the NDP, they're going to lose. They won't have any Jewish voters next election, but I don't think they're worried about that. So the other amendment included referring to Hamas as a terrorist organization with duh. Like it took this long to figure that out. Most Muslims support Hamas. They were overjoyed when Hamas did that. People in Gaza loved it. Then they found out what happens when Israel decides to lay down, take both hands behind his back, and really fight. They just witness what will happen. Hamas doesn't stand a chance, and they're running. Affirming that Israel has a right to defend itself, well, that's what happened. Hamas launched an attack on Israeli soil, killed a lot of people, and now Israel is going after Hamas. And because Hamas hides behind the population who support them, it's going to happen. What do you think is going to happen? Just think of it. If the people in Fort Erie launched a major raid on Buffalo and did the same thing, what do you think the United States response would be? The United States has gone to war for a lot less, demanding that Hamas release all hostages and lay down its arms. Good luck with that. And when you say lay down its arms, are you talking about the Hamas leadership in Qatar as well? They should be included. The complete surrender of Hamas as an organization. But then what are you going to do to make sure that nothing takes its place or it doesn't rename itself and do the same things? Also calls for ceasing the transfer of arms to Israel instead of asking to suspend all sales of military equipment to Israel. Because I know Israel requested some light armor vehicles, so the LAVs, probably from General Dynamic, and we also non-lethal aid. We don't exactly export arms. Most of our arms that we export are going to Ukraine right now. Israel makes far better military equipment than we do. And increasing efforts to stop the illegal trade of arms, including to Hamas. Like we don't already try to stop illegal arms to Hamas? So basically the increasing public protests, like I don't even know if these people have jobs. They seem to be everywhere in Toronto, these Palestinian protesters. Do they actually work? Or are they on welfare? Or are they being paid by somebody to put pressure on the government? Political Islam, they're pressuring the government, just like the trucker. I think they got the idea from the trucker convoy protest in Ottawa. Except for the government didn't back down on that one. Why? Because most of the truckers come from areas that the Conservatives already control. And they're not going to vote Liberal. These pro-Palestinian protesters are the people that usually vote Liberal or NDP. You're not going to see any conservative voters pressuring the government on that. So now it touches their voting base. So now the Liberals and the NDP have to do something. Conservative MP Gardner said it was an embarrassment and that foreign policy cannot be shaped on the fly. I quite agree. To do so, allowing a third party like the NDP, who has like 25, 26 seats in the House of Commons, to try and dictate foreign policy is ridiculous. I think what Jughead Singh hopes for is that the NDP gets more seats in the next election and the Liberals fall further, but together they would have enough seats to form a government. Another Liberal minority government with more NDP seats so that they have more say in how the government works. Supplying confidence, but with more of an NDP twist. Trudeau cannot live right now without Singh. Singh will definitely not be able to live without Trudeau. Those two might as well share a bed together. Especially after next election, if that happens, they might as well move in together and share a house. So Liberal MPs Housefather, Carr, and Mendicino were voted against the motion, so I don't know how many other Liberals went against it. Be interesting to see. Of course, Jughead tweets on his social media post that it's forced the Liberals to stop selling arms to the Israeli government. No, it didn't. We never did sell arms to the Israeli government. That's a lie. We're not selling them massive military equipment. They make better stuff. We are selling them non-lethal stuff to support the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, and to place sanctions on extremist settlers. Like those settlers care what we think. Every single Conservative MP and some Liberals tried to block it. They failed. The Liberals have to vote for this because that's where their constituencies. The Muslim vote helps to get them in. A Conservative Foreign Affairs critic, Michael Chong, said Conservatives are in favor of a two-state solution, but said that can't be accomplished through a unilateral declaration. First of all, Canada doesn't have a bone in that arena. No one comes to Canada looking for mediation, and the two-state solution will be two states, the rump of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. because they're both run by different factions. They're not even part of the same organization anymore. They've split away. And that's what these NPs don't understand. They're not democratically elected. Both they're dictatorships. Hamas does not allow Fatah to come into Gaza and have elections. They haven't had an election since Hamas got voted in. Fatah does not allow Hamas into the West Bank politically, and they do not have elections there. So you got Israel, which is a democracy, and then you got two little dictatorships running around. So go figure. And we're supposed to be a democratic country based on Western democracy? Yeah, okay. Liberal MP for Scarborough, Senator Zalma Zaid, again, another Muslim area, urged her colleagues to vote in favor of the motion saying Canadians are demanding action. Most Canadians are not demanding action. Hate to tell you this. Either we stand for human rights everywhere or for everyone, or we don't. Really? Do you think Hamas cares for human rights? Probably anti-Semitic, because that's what most Muslims are. I guarantee you 95% of the Muslim population is anti-Semitic. Meanwhile, the NDP Lindsay Matheson, who runs Fanshawe, which is London East, which is east of Adelaide, which is a pretty poor area. It's got a heavy Muslim population too. Ultimately, violence has to stop before conversations can begin. It's a war. Do you think we should have stopped World War? Just when we were ready to take out Hitler, we should have stopped World War II and talked to him? So again, out of their depth, pandering to their constituency. House Father again, false equivalency between the State of Israel and the terrorist organization of Hamas. So after reading through this, I completely on the side of Liberal MP House Father. He's saying that by doing so, we're giving equal stance to Israel and Hamas, and the two are apples and oranges. Israel is more like us in terms of they are a dictatorship, Hamas is. So for us to support that, it's false. Get rid of Hamas. Let Israel take out Hamas. Get rid of UNRWA. UNRWA has not done anything. The other refugee organization the United Nations runs has settled 50 million refugees since the end. How many has UNRWA settled? None. So the idea of statehood, for me, is a dead letter, and I wish the NDP would just go away. But because they support the Liberals and get a supply and confidence, they get to run their mouth and get to do things that no one really wants to do. But anyway, Canadians, let me know what you guys think of this whole idea. Should Palestine be a state? And what are your thoughts on why the NDP and Liberals are doing what they're doing? Leave comments in the comment section. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report. I'm in love with the